class. Earlier I told you that the syllabus is divided into 5 different sections. We have numbers and numeration. If you go back, you will find that, numbers and numeration. We have algebra. We have geometry and trigonometry. We have calculus, and we have statistics. We have solved questions under numbers and numeration and algebra in our previous session. So today we're going to look at geometry, calculus, and statistics. Just for a reminder, I have 2 more questions under algebra for us to choose. Now look at the question on the board. It says if the binary operation star is defined by m star n equals to m plus m plus n for any new number m and n, find the identity elements under this operation. This is 2021 number 34. I told us earlier that I decided to take questions from most recent years. It will really help. Now let's quickly solve this question. Let's see how this question is solved. We have the binary operation. I solved the question earlier on binary operation. If you remember, I said, now the question says m star n equals to mn plus m plus n. Now when I solved the last question, I told you that this is the rule. When you see any arrangement of numbers, of letters like this is how you should treat them. By way of example, if you are told to find 2 star 3, now this would be, now my 2 is m, my 3 is n, so this would be 2 times 3. I told you learn to use brackets. Plus m is 2, like I said, and then n is 3. So this is 6 plus 2 plus 3. This is 5 plus 6, which is 11. Now, but the question says we should find the identity element. You may need to write this down somewhere so you know how to solve questions that have to do with identity element. Now, this is the law. If you have m star e, the identity element is denoted with the letter e. M star e is commutative. Now, when we say commutative, I'll explain that very briefly. Now, this is m star e equals to e star m, which is equals to m. Now, when we say something is commutative, it means if we change the order, we'll still get the same result. Let me explain. If I have 2 plus 3, addition is commutative. Why? Because 2 plus 3 gives you 5. If you change the order, 3 plus 2, you still get 5. So this treatment, or this is commutative. M star e equals to e star m, and the result will always be m. Now, the question says we should find the identity element under the operation. Now let's quickly work on that. So m star e, so I'm going to clean up this part. Remember, the result is always m. Now we have to use this rule to deal with that. And if we try to use this rule, m star e will be me plus m plus e. Now notice that e has taken the place of n. So I told you this will always result to m. So we can do away with this part of the equation. Now let's bring like terms or collect like terms. Me plus e, and send the m over here. We have m minus m. Now we can factorize this. If we do, we have e open bracket m plus 1 equals m minus m is 0. So this is 0. If we divide both sides by m plus 1, the identity element here is 0, which is the option D, e equals 0. Now please take note of how this is solved. This is how we find identity element questions. Now sometimes they will give you a question, find the inverse element. Please note this about inverse. You can save this somewhere, or rather do this. This is the key formula for identity element. Now for inverse element, let's say you're told to find the inverse element. Please note this. M star M inverse will always give you the identity element. Please put this down somewhere. Okay? Now this is the inverse. Now whatever you are giving as a rule, treat the rule, the result will always be identity element. So this is for the inverse, and this is for identity element. Do not forget, identity element is denoted by the letter E, while the inverse is denoted by that letter, and you put raised to power -1. So that is that for binary operation. For want of time, we may not solve many more questions on binary operation. Let's quickly go to the next question. Now, still under algebra, my last question under algebra, I am going to solve this question. The question says, if x plus 2 and x minus 1 are factors of the expression lx plus 2kx squared plus 24, find the values of L and K. Now this is under polynomial. And under polynomial, what we're treating here is what we call factor theorem. Now I'm going to use your normal numbers to explain that. Now if you say something is a factor of another thing, it means that thing can divide the bigger thing without a remainder. That's what it means for something to be a factor. So it says these are factors. Now if I divide 6 by 2, I'm going to get 3 without a remainder, meaning I have 0 as a remainder. So if a function is a factor of another function, what it implies is that that function can divide a bigger function without leaving a remainder. So those two are factors of the polynomial. What's the expression? Lx plus 2kx squared plus 24. Now let's see how that works. Now if we do this, you must have been taught this in polynomials, or when you were being taught polynomials. Remember, what are the factors given? X plus 2 and x minus 1. Now how do we solve this question? Equate each of these to 0. X plus 2 equals 0, x minus 1 equals 0. If we do that, we're going to have x is minus 2 here and x is 1 here. So what next? The next thing to do is to substitute the value of these values into the given function. Substitute these values, x, which is minus 2 and 1, into these functions. And remember I said they are factors, and if they are factors, it means they will leave no remainder. So the remainder is going to be 0. So let's quickly do that. So when we have L, I'm going to put minus 2 here, plus 2k. Remember, I told you, always make use of brackets. It makes your work easy. Now, and it also makes you safer. Equals 0. You know why it is equals 0? I've said that because they are factors. They will leave no remainder. Now let's treat this. This is minus 2L. Now remember, minus 2 squared is 4. Minus times minus is plus. So this is 4 times this. This is 8k plus 24 equals 0. Now I can decide to change the place now. I have 8k because k comes before L minus 2L. Send this one over here. I have minus 24. I'm going to number this equation 1. Now what I've done here is what I will do here. I'm going to put the value of x here into this function. So that would leave me with L. Remember, I have 1 plus 2k 1 squared plus 24. Remember also, it's going to be equal to 0. The reason is it's a factor. So if we treat that, we have M plus 2k. What do we have here? Plus 24 equals 0. Just like we did here, we can also send the 24 over to the other side. So we can have minus 24. Now, this is equation 2. Go to equation 1. If we go to equation 1, now, like I did in equation 1, I can do the same thing here. K comes before L in the alphabet. So we have 2k plus L equals to minus 24. Now, I can simplify equation 1. Can you see this 8k, this 2L, this 24? 2 is a factor, it's a common factor of all of these. So if I divide all through by 2, let's move over here. We're going to have 4k minus L equals to minus 12 because 24 divided by 2 is minus 12. So I can bring this up here. I have 2k plus L equals to minus 24. Now this is a simultaneous equation. If you remember how to solve simultaneous equations, you could actually either use your elimination method, substitution method, or your graphical method. But here we are going to eliminate. Now we can eliminate L. It's easy because they have the same, almost the same coefficient. The difference between their coefficients is negative. This has a negative, this is positive. So this is minus 1 while this is plus 1. So the easy thing to do here is just to add. If I add these two equations, 4k plus 2k will be 6k. Now take note, minus L plus L. Plus times plus, remember our last class is plus. Minus L plus L will be 0. So the L's will cancel out. So this will cancel out. And then we have minus 12 plus minus 24. Plus times minus is minus. So minus 12 minus 24 is minus 36. If I divide both sides by 6, I'm going to have k equals to minus 6. So k is minus 6. The question says we should find the values of L and k. We have found that of k as minus 6. Now the next thing we do is to substitute k equals to minus 6 into any one of the two equations. Now let's use equation 2 into equation 2. Now equation 2 is 2k plus L equals to minus 24. Remember k is minus 6. So I have 2 minus 6 plus L equals to minus 24. 2 times minus 6 is minus 12 plus L is minus 24. If I move minus 12 over here, I have L minus 24 plus 12. L is minus 12. Therefore, my L is minus 12 and then my K is minus 6. Obviously, that is option A. The correct answer to that question is option A. I told you, you can pause the video at any time, go over it again, you can rewind so you can get in touch with everything we've done so far. Now let's look at the next question. Now this is a function question. It's a function question. Very simple question. Function. Now we can solve this question very easy. I hope you are with your pens and your writing pads. Now it says if g of x, now g is a function of x here, equals x squared plus 3x. And we're told to find g of x plus 1 minus g of x. Now this is quite simple, very simple. Now remember, this is g of x, is this. The easy way to do this is simple. When you are told to find g of x plus 1, now we're going to replace the x. This is g of x, that's why we have x here, we have x here. So if this was g of a, the equation would have been in a. Probably something like a squared plus 3a. But this is g of x, that's why the function is on x. It's a g is a function of x, that's what this means. Now, we're looking at g as a function of x plus 1. It's just simple. We replace the x with x plus 1, leaving us with x plus 1 all squared plus 3 into x plus 1. Now we can expand this. This can be expanded. This is x plus 1 plus 3 x plus 1. Now I told you how to do this multiplication. Just pick each term in the first bracket multiplies all the terms in the next bracket. So we have x squared plus x plus 1 plus, open the bracket here, 3x plus 3. Now this is 2x, so that's x squared plus 2x plus 1 plus 3x plus 3. If we add all the x, all the x terms, we have x squared plus 5x plus 4. Now that is what this is. That is what g of x plus 1 is. But the question says we should find g of x plus 1 minus g of x. And this g of x is what we have here. So if we subtract g of x, remember why I said you should always use your brackets. That comes handy here. Because if there was no bracket, this would be wrong because this minus is supposed to affect this. But with brackets, it shows you that the minus indeed will affect this. So let's go. We have x squared, open the bracket, minus 5x plus 4, minus x squared. Remember, minus times plus is minus 3x. So x squared minus x squared, that will cancel out. 5x minus 3x is 2x plus 4. Now we can also simplify this. We can factorize this. 2 is a common factor. We're left with x plus 2. So that is the answer. The correct answer is option B. 2 into bracket x plus 2. That brings us to the end of algebra. Now we'll go to the next branch of the syllabus, which is geometry and trigonometry. Now, when we're talking about geometry and trigonometry, we are dealing with the shapes and every other thing that comes with. Now, that's geometry. And trigonometry, your cosine, your sine, your trig ratios, and everything. Now, we're going to look at the first question here. It says, if sine theta equals to minus 3 over 5, and theta lies in the third quadrant, find cos theta. Now, third quadrant. I'm going to teach you something about the quadrant very quickly. It's more like a reminder for those of you who know. But for those who do not know, you're going to be learning that for the first time. Now, we'll talk about quadrant. Now, it's a quadruple. We'll say quadrant. We're talking about 4 things. You know, when someone has 4 children at once, they say the person has quadruplets. Now, quadrant, 4. If I divide my point or a point into 4 parts, now it is known from your elementary school that the sum of angles at a point add up to, all the angles at a point add up to 360 degrees. So if I divide my points into 4 equal parts, it's just going to be 360 divided by 4. Each one will be 90. Looking at that, it also looks like 90. So now these are the quadrants. Now please note this. For want of time, I may not be able to explain everything, but this, you can write this somewhere. It's very, very important. Now what this means is simple. This is the first quadrant, the second quadrant, the third quadrant, and the fourth quadrant. For the first quadrant, all the trig ratios, so we're talking about the trig ratios, trigonometric ratios, we're talking about the SOHCAHTOA. Remember SOHCAHTOA, right? SOHCAHTOA. So the sine, the cosine, and the tangent. All the trig ratios in the first quadrant are positive. That is, the trig ratios of all the angles between 0 and 90. Please note this. Angles are measured anti-clockwise. That is, from here against the clock. You know, the clock goes this way. So anti-clockwise is this way. So angles are measured from here. You go 90, and then 180. This is 270. And back to this place, you would have completed 360 degrees. So this is 90. So what this means is that the sine, the cosine, and the tangent of all the angles between 0 and 90 are positive. You can check that with your calculator to confirm that. So that's why this is A. A is odd positive. Now the next is S. The next quadrant, the second quadrant. Now in the second quadrant, only the sine of angles between 90 and 180 are positive. You can confirm that with your calculator. Look at this. So here, this is 0 to 90. Now this is 90 to 180, 180 to 270, and this is 360 degrees. Note that. So in the third quadrant, that's why you have T. Here, only sine is positive. Cosine, negative. Tangent, negative. Here, sine is negative. That's why it's T. Cosine, negative. Tangent, positive. So that's what it stands for. And in the fourth quadrant, sine, negative. Cosine, because of the C, is positive, and the tangent is negative. Very, very important. Now, so the question, let's quickly go to the question. It says, if sine theta is minus 3 over 5, and theta lies in the third quadrant. Well, that is true if you look at the third quadrant. In the third quadrant, what is positive here? Only tangent. So sine and cosine are negative. So theta is an angle that lies or falls in the third quadrant. The question is, find cos theta. Now, let's go to solving the question. I'm going to draw a right angle triangle. Now, remember that your SOHCAHTOA works for right angle triangles. Now, the formulas for right angle triangle that you can use your SOHCAHTOA. You can also use Pythagoras theorem. Now, so if this is the angle, okay? Now, remember the sign. So stands for sine, opposite over hypotenuse. That's the so. S stands for sine, O for opposite, and H for hypotenuse.